4 times. That's how many times Washington has vetoed a UN resolution calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. But when Russia vetoes resolutions on Ukraine, it's an attack on democracy. The double standard is staggering. Let's be clear about what these vetoes mean. Each time the US blocked a ceasefire resolution, it was giving Israel more time to bomb hospitals, schools, and refugee camps. While UN officials, humanitarian organizations, and even US allies pleaded for an end to the killing, Washington made sure it continued. And these resolutions weren't radical. They weren't calling for sanctions or military intervention. They were calling for a pause in bombing civilians. And yet the US government, under both Democratic and Republican leadership, ensured the war raged on. The United States has used its veto power at the UN 49 times to shield Israel from accountability since 1970. Just last year, it blocked a resolution that would have given Palestine full UN membership, effectively denying it recognition on the global stage. The message is clear. Palestinian statehood is not up for discussion. Trump recently has openly proposed taking over Gaza and forcing millions of Palestinians into permanent exile by building refugee camps outside the Strip, with no right of return. The UN's top humanitarian investigator has called it what it is: ethnic cleansing. It's not just political protection. Let's talk numbers. Since Israel's war on Gaza began, the US approved $26 billion in military aid to Israel. That's on top of the $3.8 billion in annual military assistance it already receives under a 10-year agreement. Meanwhile, humanitarian aid to Palestine is suspended. And it gets worse. On the same day the US cut funding to almost every humanitarian program, the White House gave the green light for the Pentagon to send 1,800 Mk-84 bombs, 2,000-pound explosives designed to level entire city blocks, to Israel. These are the same bombs that killed over 500 civilians in a single strike on Al Ahli Arab Hospital. These are the same bombs that turned entire residential neighborhoods into craters. The same bombs that killed entire families in their sleep. The same bombs that even US military officials say are too destructive for urban warfare. But that hasn't stopped any of the shipments. And this isn't new. In May 2021, during a previous Israeli assault on Gaza, Biden approved a $735 million sale of precision-guided weapons, despite global outcry. But here's the real hypocrisy. While the US claims to defend democracy and free speech, it has criminalized dissent when it comes to Palestine. Trump recently signed an executive order targeting pro-Palestinian protesters, branding them as Hamas sympathizers, and threatening mass deportation of international students. Just last year, pro-Palestinian student groups at Columbia, Harvard, and Stanford were shut down or blacklisted for speaking out. And it's not just the US. In France, pro-Palestinian protests were banned outright, while in Australia and the Netherlands, riot police cracked down with force. In Germany, it's gone even further. Authorities have raided the homes of activists, arrested demonstrators, and even blocked pro-Palestinian speakers from entering the country. And if that wasn't enough, Germany now requires anyone applying for citizenship to affirm Israel's right to exist. Now imagine being a refugee from Gaza, whose family was bombed out of existence, and being told you must pledge allegiance to your occupier just to gain citizenship. So let's be clear, this isn't about democracy. This isn't about human rights, it's about power. Washington and its allies defend these principles when it's convenient. But when Israel's the aggressor, silence, financial aid, and more bombs.